All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to Tauzy presents Tricks of the Trade, Chapter 2 of the new DMG Core 24 2024 rule set. Let me check a couple things. Get a mic check for anybody who's watching. Hello, hello. What up, Trey? Let me know if you can hear me. Mic should be going good. Sounds good. Okay, great. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, if you don't know what this is, my name's Tauzy. You should know who this is because this is a subs only channel, but we are going over the entirety of the DMG, or at least most of it, most of the good bits, because I'm really interested in the design philosophy of it. So last time we did this, we did all of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is pretty big, but we'll see how far I can get inside Chapter 2. So let's just jump inside of it. Let's do this. Oh, a couple announcements. Tomorrow is Azure Sky. We are jumping back into Azure Sky live at 8 p.m. We are jumping back into it, guys. We're doing this. I'm super excited about that. We are not having a Thursday night Tomb of Annihilation this week. That will be postponed until the 30th. But Azure Sky is happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. PT. So watch us then, please. It'd be awesome. Okay. Let me see if I can figure this out. All right, Chapter 2, The Dungeon Master's Guide of Core 2024. Let me go into here. Boop. Oh, that's right. BG3 session. We will be playing Baldur's Gate 3 this Thursday. At our normal time, we will be playing Tomb of Annihilation. So that will be at 5:30. So we're still doing stuff on Thursdays. That will be at 5:30 p.m. PT this coming Thursday. All right. Let's jump into this. Here we have Chapter 2 of the DMG, Running the Game. So, the first chapter was all about, like, respect, like, all the key tenets of, like, of the Dungeon Master's Guide, like the basics of what we're doing. Mutual respect for players, how to run a session, just the broad strokes. But they did a great job with these broad strokes, I think. Yes, and then Sunday starting the 2nd for those BG3 sessions. Trey will host those. I'm super excited to watch some of those when I get the chance. So come watch those. Those will be every other Sundays. Sundays where I'm not doing a Tricks of the Trade or we're not doing a PvP. Trey will be hosting a Baldur's Gate 3 run, so come and watch that, with all the mods, too. Let's do that. So now let's go into running the game. We know the basics. Let's do running the game. So here we have just a straight-up badass artwork of Venger. This is the fiendish villain, Venger, uses a crystal ball to scry on his nemesis, Tiamat. I love how his nemesis is Tiamat. This is, like, so old school. If you don't know who Tiamat is, it's basically a 5-headed dragon. It's a 5-headed dragon of all the colors, also known in Kryn, or Dragonlance, as Takesis. Super badass villain. Okay, so we go into Know Your Players. While your player's role is to create characters, the protagonists of the campaign, breathe life into them, and steer the campaign through their actions, your role as a dungeon master is to keep the players immersed in the world you've created and to give the characters the opportunity to do awesome things. Knowing what your players enjoy most about the D&D game helps you create and run adventures that they will enjoy and remember. Once you know which of the following activities each player in your group enjoys, you can tailor adventures to your players' preferences. Okay, so right away they're like, okay, let's kind of taxonomize your players. There are good and bad things about this, right? So we're gonna get into, like, actors. Your actors who enjoy the social aspect of D&D. And you want to engage them by giving them opportunities to develop their characters' personalities and backgrounds, like highlight the social stuff. Explorers, people that enjoy exploring things, dropping clues that hints at things yet to come, letting them find things when they take the time to explore. That's another pillar of D&D, exploration. And then finally, fighting. Players enjoy fantasy combat, like the excitement of battling villains and monsters. That's pretty much everybody. Pretty much everybody enjoys the fighting aspect. But some people like it more than others. Spring unexpected combat encounters on them, yes. Some players enjoy being called out for what type they are, and some players do not. So if some players don't and some players do, I would not do this. I would not call players out on whatever their type is, because some players, you know, it's a little sensitive to some people that don't like to be put in a corner. And the truth of it is, no one's really only one thing, right? Some people are like percentages of one of these. So this is just something to be aware of as a DM for your own information. So you've got actors, you've got explorers, you've got fighters, instigators, people who don't like to mess about. They like to instigate whatever encounter is about to happen. They want the game to go fast. Allow their actions to affect the environment. Include things in your adventure to tempt them. I mean, this is good for everybody, not just instigators. Letting their actions put the characters in a tight spot. That's going to happen regardless with instigators. Include encounters with NPCs who are as feisty and unpredictable as the players are. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Include encounters with NPCs who are as feisty and unpredictable as the players are. I think that's pretty good for all these. If you have a social player, an actor, put social NPCs in there. If you've got an explorer, put someone who's down to explore. Put NPCs who are excited about exploring. So you got instigators, you got fighters, you got explorers, you got actors. Optimizers. Boy, this is a big one. Players enjoy optimizing their characters' capabilities, like to fine-tune their characters for peak performance by gaining levels, new features, and magic items. They welcome any opportunity to demonstrate their character's excellence. Engage players who like optimization by using desired magic items as adventure hooks and rewards. Yes. A lot of these are just stuff you should do regardless. Like, because everyone's something of an optimizer. Everyone's something of an optimizer. Not everyone. There's some people who don't care. There's a good 10 to 20% of players who don't care about this. Yeah. Include encounters that let them leverage their character's most potent abilities. Yep. Keep it somewhat difficult for optimizers. Yep. Providing quantifiable rewards like experience points for non-combat encounters. Interesting. I think Milestone does this. I think Milestone is just better at oddly enough, counterintuitively, Milestone is better for awarding non-combat encounters. But I can get into that later. I think I've already talked about that in other things, experience versus non-combat. What up? What up, the Cozy Goth? Hello. Thanks for coming. We're talking right now about player types in Chapter 2 of Running the Game. I'm doing good, man. I'm enjoying talking about the DMG. It's one of my favorite things. If not an optimizer, would that make one a pessimizer? I think maybe. Some people are pessimizers. They're rough to play with. They just think everything's doom and gloom. Problem solvers. This is the one, I think problem solvers is the one that gets overlooked the most. People don't realize that there's a lot of problem solvers who play this game. Players who want to solve problems like to scrutinize as player types. I've had no shortage of different player types. It seems there's always a new type that shows up. Yeah, sometimes there are hybrids. Players who want to solve problems like scrutinize NPC motivations, untangle a villain's machinations, solve puzzles, and come up with plans. This is why you should put puzzles in your games, because there are people who are really excited about them. Even though D&D is like by itself, the mechanics of it aren't really set up for puzzles, you should still put them in there. Engage players who like to solve problems by including puzzles in tricky situations that require thinking. Rewarding planning and tactics with in-game benefits. Creating NPCs with complex motives. Yep. Socializing. Many groups includes players who come to the game primarily because they enjoy the social event and want to spend time with friends, not because they're especially invested in any part of the actual game. Yeah, man. Yes. These players want to participate, but they tend not to care whether they're deeply immersed in the adventure. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Immersion is not something you as a DM need to worry about. It is not something you need to worry about, because some players don't care about it, and the players who do care about it will immerse themselves. All you got to worry about is putting fun stuff in front of the players. Knowing the basic mechanics and putting fun stuff in front of the players. Storytellers. Players who love storytelling want to contribute to a narrative. They like it when their characters are heavily involved in an unfolding story, and they enjoy encounters that are tied to and expand an overarching plot. Yes. So, like, if you have a main plot line, even some of your side quests can kind of circle back on whatever your main thing is. That'll make your that'll make the entirety of your plot, so to speak, feel really impactful, and it'll make the characters, it'll make your players feel like they're really involved in it as well, when it keeps harping back into why they're there for the first place. I'm in your Sunday morning descent into Avernus game. What? I don't do a Sunday morning descent into Avernus game. What are you talking about? I wish I did a descent into Avernus game. Let's keep it going. Well, now I'm really interested. I'm sorry, Cozy Goth. I don't... That's... How many games are you playing, Cozy Goth, that you don't even know? You don't even recognize your DMs? Let's keep it. I should run Descent. Yes, I should. That's all right. It's okay. All right, group size. D&D rules and published adventures generally assume 4 to 6 players plus the DM. The following advice helps you adjust adventurers to work for smaller or larger groups. The game is built for 4 people. I think with new D&D, it might be built for 5 people. Hopefully, I think the more I play it, the more I realize, like, with the monster manual coming out and the more monster abilities coming out, it might be designed for 5 now. But in reality, the player base has expanded. More people are playing this game, so it's about on average of like 4.7 players per game, whereas 20 years ago it was like 3.6, maybe, I would say. Like, more people are playing this game, and it has a definite impact. Small groups. A group that contains fewer than 4 players might find combat encounters difficult. They will, especially if the party lacks important capabilities, such as armored characters, tanks, to stand toe-to-toe to enemies, or healing magic to keep everyone alive. You can compensate by reducing the number of monsters, yes, in a combat encounter, or by giving the party resources they need, such as potions of healing. Yep. You can also add party members, described in the sections that follow. DM-controlled adventurer. Yes. This is sometimes called pejoratively a DM PC. It's only bad when that player becomes the spotlight. But if they need combat help, or even socializing or exploring help, a DM PC can be really useful. Yeah, be sure to keep the player characters in the spotlight. Don't take away their player's agency by having your character make decisions for the group. Yep. Add non-player characters to the adventuring party. Yes, indeed. Players with multiple characters. I don't recommend this. I really, really don't. One or more of your players can each play 2 characters. If you have someone who's really mature at the table and can handle it, and this might help out your balance, maybe do it. But honestly, man, I don't recommend it. It just becomes a cluster, and it's tough. It basically becomes like one player. You get some hive mind problems where you're like, how would you know? It just creates problems with characters not knowing things that they shouldn't know, because you have a player playing multiple different tunes essentially. Yeah, it's tough to roleplay. It can be difficult for a player to roleplay 2 characters at once. Yeah. What you could do is play Gestalt characters, which are essentially like, if you're level 1, you take 2 levels of something. So you're like a fighter rogue, but you're not 1 level fighter, 1 level rogue. You're just a fighter with all the rogue stuff as well. So you could play Gestalt characters if you need that to boost your combat capabilities. I think they talk about that in like Mythic Theros, I think they talk about Gestalt characters. Large groups. This is the big one. If you find yourself in a situation where individual players are having trouble getting a chance to do things during exploration or social interaction, have the players roll initiative and act in initiative order, just as you do in combat. Taking turns ensures that everyone has a chance to do something. Use this approach sparingly, as it can feel artificial and sometimes slows down the game. Ooh, I don't like that at all. I mean, that's if you're playing with like kids. You might need them to roll initiative outside of combat. Party leader. Consider having to designate a party leader. Could be useful, especially if you have some people that are struggling socially. Could be useful to have a party leader. Speeding combat. Be generous with information. This is a big one. I'm so happy they put this in. So happy they put this in. There's so many DMs out there that are like, that focus on obfuscation as opposed to revelation. You should be generous with information. This will speed up combat. I cannot stress this enough. If you tell players what the armor class of their opponents is, you don't have to tell them right away. But if they swing a couple times at an enemy, they should know. Right? They're going to do that anyway. They're going to be like, okay, my 14 missed last time. My 17 did hit. So they're doing the math. So just let them know. Right? If you tell the players what the armor class of their opponents is, you reduce the steps of interaction needed to resolve an attack. Instead of telling you a number and asking if it hits, a player can simply tell you that an attack hits and how much damage it deals, perhaps adding some narration for good measure. Boom. In the same way, if you know each character's AC, you don't need to ask whether a monster attack hits. Yep. Get rid of all the fluff, get rid of all the barriers that make it a slow combat. Though, if they figure out information, give them the information. If they're struggling to figure out information, give them the information. Help players keep up. If players ensure what to do in their turn in the combat, help the player by offering a quick recap of the state of the battle. How many foes are still standing? How hurt do they look? What's the most immediate threat? I would also say, like, give them a couple options. You could do this. You can dodge. You can make an attack. You can run away. You can disengage. Give them options. That way it doesn't feel like you're telling them what to do. Just give them 3 or 4 options. Make initiative obvious. Yes. Those things that I put up on Azure Sky Live, like, those are helpful. If you're playing a live game, have the turn tracker open and available, and have your things available so people can see where their characters are. Roll handfuls of dice. This is a big one too. On the live games, yep. Roll your attack roll and your damage at the same time. Yep, and you can do the same as a DM. Sometimes I roll as a DM. I see where my players are, and I'll have like 3 different D20s to attack, and I'll literally roll them in the direction of each player. So whatever D20 is going towards the player, that's the one that's attacking them, just to speed things up. Take 3 dice. Alyssa's right there. Roberto's right there. Russ is right there. Boom, I'll roll 3 of them. That one's going to Alyssa. That one's going to Roberto. That one's going to Russ. Right? Absent players. Ooh, boy. Have the character simply fade into the background. This is, for some reason, this is like a big concern. The player's like, what did my player do last time? Man, sometimes the camera just isn't on you. And that could be an answer. You're like, you were there, but not really. You didn't have as much of an impact, and that's okay. Or, heaven forbid, your character, like your literal character, take a mental health day from battling smoke-breathing, icy, frosty giants underground. Maybe they just want to take a break. That's okay. Narrative contrivance. You could do this. In-game reasons that can temporarily leave. You could do that. Substitute player. Interesting. I've never done this. If you're cool with that, you can have someone play your character. I'm cool with that. That's why I've added. I think players still like to feel like they're in, even if they miss a game, because it does suck when you've missed a game. So that's why I've added the Street Fighter tag-in ability. I still don't know exactly what to call it, but it's a Tauzy tag-in ability where if you've missed a game, the players at your game can summon in your character to do one thing for that session. They can tag themselves in, throw a fireball, or cast a Cure Wounds, or whatever, and then they book it. By the way, if anybody has any questions going forward, just post them in the chat. I'll answer as I can. Okay. Incorporating new players. Long lost friend. Oh, this is good. Okay, reasons why there's a new player. The new character is a friend or relative of one of the adventurers. Awesome. Yes. Rescued prisoner. Good. Always useful. Soul survivor. New character is a sole survivor of an ill-fated group of adventurers. Rad. Yeah, these are good. Special guest stars. Oh, we do this. The story hooks for incorporating new players can also work for occasions where you want to bring in a player into your group for a single session. For example, you might have a friend visiting from out of town who wants to join your game briefly, or perhaps you have a player you're thinking about adding to the group but you want to make sure they'll be a good addition. Incorporating an occasional guest player is also a great way to maintain a roster of players as backup in case one of your regular players has to drop out of the game. Ooh, yep, that's all good. Multiple DMs. Many gaming groups switch DMs from time to time. I'm playing in a group where we have multiple DMs. Because I've said I don't want to DM because I do it as a living. I just want to be a player, selfishly. But everyone else doesn't want all that responsibility, so we have multiple DMs. It has been really fun, so I recommend it. Take a break from being a DM if you need to recharge your creative juices. Plan with the next arc of your campaign or finish up your adventure you're working on. By taking a break, you create an opportunity for another player to assume the DM role for a session or two. Indeed. Variety series. Some groups don't want a long campaign with sweeping plot lines and prefer short, unconnected adventures. With that style of game, different players might take turns as DMs for 1 to 3 sessions at a time, with each adventure standing as a self-contained story. That's kind of what we're doing. We're kind of doing multi-DM variety series. Concurrent campaigns. You and the other DMs in your group can take turns running adventures for a few weeks or months at a time, with your campaign on hold during the DM's turn. Some groups may play multiple times each week, with different DMs running their campaigns on different days. Awesome. Yeah. It's like they did their research on how people are activating this game. Shared world. Some groups take large established campaign settings and divide it up geographically, so different DMs can run separate campaigns in the same setting, but on like different continents. That's so rad. In theory, characters can travel from one DM's region of the world to another, creating continuity in the campaign, even as characters might be involved in several plot lines. Very cool. Or you can divide it up thematically. Cool. Joint DMs. So this is 2 DMs working at the same time. 2 or more DMs can share the creation of a single campaign, working together to maintain continuity from session to session, and making sure that each DM's adventurers advance the larger story of the world and their characters. Very cool. Joint DMs can also team up, run sessions of a campaign, with each DM focusing on aspects of the game they most enjoy. The DMs trading focus from session to session. One DM might run combat description and keep a battle moving, while the other focuses on miniatures and music. I mean, if this is what you love, frickin' do it. Anything to take off some of the heat from being a DM. Like, go work it yourself. Go get on there. Yeah, I love that. Narration. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so these are like immersive techniques. Lead by example. When you roleplay and narrate with enthusiasm, you add energy to the game and draw your players into the world. Encourage the players to describe the character's actions, then incorporate the narration into your accounts of the character's successes and failures. Brevity. Keep your descriptions short and evocative. When I do like descriptive text, when I write text in my like box text for when you enter a room or you enter some sort of encounter, literally keep it to your 5 senses. That's my and keep out creatures. Keep out creatures from your evocative short text. That seems counterintuitive. There's a reason you do that. Just make it about what you see. Where are they? What's going on? What do they smell? What can they taste in the air? What can they taste around them? What can they feel? How do they feel? Perchance. But don't do who, because who is fluid, right? You might not have, if you write this in your box text, like how many orcs there are in a room, they might not be there because they heard noise from another room. Or there might only be some of them, or they might be dead, or crazy things can happen, right, in D&D. So don't put the things that change quickly, and that happens to be creatures in your evocative text. Atmosphere. Bring the place to life by adding touches of atmosphere, such as the lingering smell of ash, tiny beetles skittering along the dungeon floor, or blue flowers blossoming in the otherwise desolate and gloomy graveyard. Very cool. Pick a couple of senses. Yep, do the senses. Draw players' attention. Distinguish options. When presenting options to player, add details to distinguish the options. Should the characters take the left path or the right path? Perhaps the left path smells of rotten decay, while the faint sound of lapping water comes from the right. Yeah. Yeah, this is all good. Don't limit options. In general, let the players use the information they're given to decide what they want to do. Don't put unnecessary limitations on the character's actions. That said, it can be helpful, especially with new players, to offer suggestions. You can go through the door, search the chest, or look down the shaft. Just make sure to finish by saying, or anything else you can think of. That's a big one. Man, that's a big one. Or stuff I'm not thinking of as a DM that you think of. Or question mark, right? Or I don't know. You're the player. That's the most important one. I'm trying to ping it. I can't ping it. I can just highlight it. That's the most important one. Don't assume character actions. Don't assume actions on the character's part. For example, don't say, you step into the room and look up, unless the player's already told you that that's what their character's doing. I don't know. Sometimes you could do this. I'm okay with doing a hard read on some of the character's actions. Sometimes you walk into a room and you feel a compulsion to look up. There are things up there that are drawing your attention. I think you can do this egregiously where it becomes a problem, but sometimes it's okay to tell players how they're feeling, what they're doing immediately, and how they're reacting immediately. Because some things are compulsive. Some things are just built into perhaps their characters, or perhaps like some things are just reactions that you're going to take. Just don't be egregious with this. That's what I'd say. Secrets of discovery. Don't hide important secrets or discoveries in places where the characters aren't likely to uncover them. Make sure they can't miss an important secret discovery by simply failing an ability check, not talking to the right person, or not looking at the right person. I don't know, man. I like to hide things in my games in very secretive, very hidden places. Otherwise, what is the point? I think it's okay to promote good searching. But if it's like quest items, yes. But if it's anything other than that, if it's like really useful side objects, hide it. Put it in very, very secretive places. Okay. Giving information to one player. Yeah, this happens when you get split parties. This gets messy. I'm just gonna let you know right now. This can be useful though. Sometimes you need to give notes to certain players, or sometimes things are happening just to that one player and no one else knows about it. Sometimes you got to do it. Send messages. You got to do player sides. Yes, indeed. Ooh, look at this. Look at Strahd with his wolf. Maybe Strahd? I don't know. Just like a dude. With, oh yeah, that's beautiful. Our dungeon room offers plenty of details for adventurers to explore. Resolving outcomes. So here are the mechanics of the game. This is them right here. D20 test. That's what the game is. If the task is trivial or impossible, don't bother with the D20 task. Yep. You know, most DC 5s or below, you don't have to do them. Most DC 30s or above, we don't have to roll for that. Cool. What abilities does the test use? We all know this. Strength, Dex, Con, Int, Wiz, Ka. But this is still good to have this, right? The game is based on this. It's not based on skills. It is a clear design element. The game is based on ability checks. Ability checks that might involve a skill. But usually I think most players think in skills. It's a tough thing to grasp that we're playing with ability checks and not skill checks. I think people are just kind of hard-tuned to think in skills as opposed to abilities. Proficiency. Yep, we know what a proficiency is. Trying again. Okay. They have it written down. I'm so excited. They have it written down. Here it is. Trying again. Sometimes a character fails an ability check and the player wants to try again. In many cases, failing an ability check makes it impossible to attempt the same thing again. So for those, you can't retry. For some tasks, however, the only consequence of failure is the time it takes to attempt the task again. For example, failing a dexterity check to pick a lock on a treasure chest doesn't mean the character can't try again, but each attempt might take a minute. Yes. If failure has no consequence and a character can try again and again, you can skip the ability check and just tell the player how long the task takes. This is the old rule for taking 20. When I say taking 20, though, no one knows what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to say from now on, do you want to take your time and get it done? Because if you can take your time and get it done, well then, the only consequence is the time lost, which might be a serious consequence. But that is what we mean by taking 20. It means some things can be retried, so it's okay just to retry over and over again. We don't need to do the thing where someone rolls, they fail, and they say, can I do it again? And you roll again, and they fail. If this is what you want to do, you can just take the time. Yeah. Yeah. Group checks. Group checks are a tool you can use when the party's trying to accomplish something together, and the most skilled characters can cover for characters who are less adept at the task. To make a group ability check, everyone in the group makes the ability check. If at least half the group succeeds, the whole group succeeds. Otherwise, the group fails. Group checks aren't appropriate when one character's failure would spell disaster for the whole party, such as if the characters are creeping across the castle courtyard while trying to not to alert the guards. In that case, one noisy character will draw the guards' attention, and there's not much that stealthier characters can do about it, so relying on individual checks makes more sense. Oh man, but I disagree here. Similarly, don't use a group check when a single successful check is sufficient, as is the case when finding a hidden compartment with wisdom check. I think they're using group stealth as a thing not to do anymore, but I'm okay with group stealth. I think if you don't use group stealth, and this is the thing that happens the most, is group stealth. If you don't use group stealth, people just won't try, and your rogue is going to be pissed that they can't stealth with their whole group. I think group stealth, you could still keep it. You might want to get a little bit more crunchy with it, like it might be more difficult than passive perceptions would otherwise say, but I think group stealth is still a good thing. Otherwise, rogues are gonna be pissed. Why would you be a rogue when half the party is always in metal clanking around? Give them a chance to succeed. Research tasks, these are group things. Yep, that's a group thing. Rope together. Yeah, cool. Social situations, yep. My thing is, like, because group sizes are so disparate, you can have like 3 people, and then some groups have 8 people. Like 3 to 8, those are your extremes of D&D. Typically, what I've fallen back on is not so much a group. I guess it is a group thing, but usually I'll say, give me your 2 best blank, whatever that thing is, so that a group of 7 people don't have an obvious edge over groups of 3 or 4 people. Because if you say give me 7 rolls, everyone has an individual roll on whatever it is on perception. They're going to make that roll. That's 7 rolls means they have septuple advantage. That is what that means. So instead, I would say give me your 2 best rolls for most checks that involve a group. That's what I do instead of a group check. But group stealth is still something I'm going to do. Passive is still a thing. Passive perception is still a thing. I use passive investigation, passive insight. Yep. Attack rolls, we know what attack roll is. Saving throw, we know what that is. Difficulty class. This is the game, folks. This is it. This is the mechanics of the game. If you don't know what you're doing in D&D and you want to be a DM, this is your first chart. A very easy task is DC 5. An easy task is DC 10. A moderate task is 15. A hard task is 20. Don't even worry about very hard and nearly impossible. These are your DCs. You can get crunchier with them, right? They don't always have to be multiples of 5. You can think in terms of like 12, 14, and 17 if you want. That might help you out more. But this is the game. This is it right here. If you're designing a room and you want the room to be of a moderate challenge to a group of, typically this chart is made for like level 5s, and then everything else kind of bleeds off of that. Multiple 5 is easy to remember, yes, but you might want to crunchy it up for your own sake. A moderate room of moderate challenges with traps that are DC 15 to pick or to spot. That's what you want to go with. Use these numbers. Calculated DCs. This is the formula of the game. A DC is 8 plus ability modifier plus proficiency bonus. 9 times out of 10, they're using that formula. And that's it. Advantage and disadvantage, we know what that is. I'm just going to see if anything's different. Okay. Success at a cost. Consequences. When a character fails a d20 test by 1 or 2, you can offer to let the character succeed at the cost of a complication or hindrance. So this is borrowing from a lot of other TTRPGs out there that use success at a consequence or success with setbacks. When I do like a D100 roll, that's what I'm using. I'm using 1 to 33 typically means failure. 67 to 100 means success, and anything in the middle there is success with consequences. That's typically what I mean when I ask for a D100 roll. Okay. Oh, some complications are a character gets her sword past an enemy's defenses and turns a near miss into a hit, but she then drops the sword. Cool. Character narrowly escapes the full brunt of a fireball spell, but has the prone condition. Cool. Yeah. A character fails to intimidate a kobold prisoner, but the kobold reveals its secrets anyway while shrieking at the top of its lungs, alerting other nearby monsters. Yeah, these are great. Oh, very cool. Degrees of success, degrees of failure. Very cool. This example is great. For example, a character who fails to disarm a trapped chest might accidentally spring the trap if the check fails by 5 or more, whereas a lesser failure would mean the trap wasn't triggered during the botched disarm attempt. Consider adding similar distinctions to other checks. Perhaps a failed charisma persuasion check means a queen won't help, whereas a failure of 5 or more means she throws the characters in the dungeon for such display of impudence. I think so. Yeah. Put some nasty failures in your checks. Otherwise, they're just gonna check their way to success all the time, or just like steamroll checks in front of your face as a DM. If you put some failure in there, they're gonna watch themselves. They're gonna treat the game with a bit more respect when you put some failure in. Your players will. Critical success or failure. What are they saying here? However, you take such an exceptional role into account when adjudicating the outcome. It's up to you to determine how this manifests in the game. One approach is to increase the impact of success or failure. For example, rolling a 1 on a failed attempt to pick a lock might jam the lock, and rolling a 20 on a successful intelligence investigation check might reveal an extra clue. Yes. For attack rolls, it's saying resist the temptation to add additional negative consequences on a nat 1 on an attack roll. The automatic failure is bad enough. I agree. Don't force it, but I do enjoy my DM Tauzy gamble roll, which is you can roll a D100. You have the choice to roll a D100 if you wish. Once you roll a 1 or a 20, and then how bad that is or how good that is might change the roll. And characters typically make so many attack rolls, this is talking about monks and fighters, that they're bound to roll dozens of nat 1s over time. This is the problem with crit fumble tables, is that your monks and fighters who keep rolling attack rolls exponentially as they level will then start fumbling, their nunchucks all the time. If you intended to make Jet Li, you made a Jackie Chan. Every time. because those actors play very different martial art characters in their movies. Improvising damage. Cool. Oh, this is a good chart. Burned by coals, hit by falling bookcase, 1d10. They use d10s for rando damage, and it can be brutal, man. D10s don't play. D10s don't play. I usually use D4s for traps. Maybe I should jump into using D10s. Okay. 10d10 is crushed by compacting walls, hit by whirling steel blades, wading through lava. Submerged in lava is 18d10. Woof. 24d10 is tumbling into a vortex of fire on the elemental plane of fire. Crushed in the jaws of a godlike creature or a moon-sized monster. Whoa! Damage severity and level. This is good. Characters 1 through 4. Nuisance and deadly. Very useful. But D10s. Woof. Woof. Or you can split the difference and go D6 for traps. Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Improvising answers. We're doing well. Doing really well. With a little preparation, a lot of flexibility, you can handle any curveball the players throw at you. One of the cornerstones of improvisational theater is called yes and. It's based on the idea that actors take whatever the other actors give and build on that. A simpler principle applies as you run sessions for your players. As often as possible, weave what the players give you into your story. An equally important principle is no, but. Sometimes characters can't do what their players want. It's okay to say no. No is a very important word. No is a more important word than yes. No is the most important word in the English language. Yes is the next most important word. It's not the other way around. You have to say no. When you want to say no, when you need to say no, say no. For example, imagine the character is searching for a Lich Slayer. A player asks if there's any magic guilds operating in a nearby city, hoping to find records that mention the Lich. This wasn't a possibility you anticipated, and you don't have anything prepared for it. One option is to say yes and use the tools at disposal to create a suitable mage's guild. By doing this, you reward the player for thinking creatively. Also, the guild will become a great source for adventure hooks. Another option is to say no, but a solitary mage in town might possess the desired information. This approach rewards the creative player while demanding less work from you. Yes. Yes, it does. Aids to improvisation. Yes, please. A list of NPC names in Chapter 3. Cool. Let me just go over here. Cool. Just some quick names. Common names, guttural names, lyrical. Oh, I didn't know they had this. Oh, I can't wait. They separated them by how they feel. That's awesome. Common names, guttural names, Barash Rundel, Skaldark Urthragd, Thok Vrakir. Lyrical names, Netheria Silverfrond, Sorsil Summer Breeze, Dwermer, Dardurendrin, Calith Mishan. Monosyllabic names, Flint Horn, Rak Mot, Sean Imish, Krus Keth. Sinister names, Morthos, Lorixius. Alright, I'm getting into Chapter 3. I shouldn't do this. Sorry. Random tables, settlements, campaign journal. Okay, cool. What is this? When a flying fortress crashes to the ground, unfortunate adventures in its path might take 18 d10 damage or more. Oh god. Look at these poor sops. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, you shouldn't be there. They also have red dragons. Oh god. Oh, poor guys. Let's see here. Running social interaction. Okay, we're getting running social action, running exploration, running combat, and then character advancement. Okay. Role-playing. NPC portrayals. One or two adjectives that best describe the creature. Yep. Yeah, you don't have to go crazy. Just give a couple buzzwords that make it easy for you. Use facial expressions, use motions and posture, use voices. Engaging the players. Appeal to player preferences. Involve specific characters. Use other ability scores. Strength. An NPC won't talk to the characters until one of them agrees to an arm wrestling match. Very cool. An NPC is hostile toward intruders, so the characters must talk from hiding, or the social interaction provides a distraction that allows characters to get close to the NPC to steal something from the NPC's pockets. Intelligence. An NPC speech is so full of obscure references to a particular area of knowledge that the characters can't use the information they receive until they interpret those obscure facts. Cool. An NPC is hiding something important, and the characters must read the NPC's nonverbal cues to understand what's true and what's deception. Interesting. Attitude. Okay, we got friendly, indifferent, hostile. Yeah, I think there were more in the last one. I think it's good to keep it simple. Yes, excellent. Running exploration. Oh, this is also something I want to talk about when talking about like character types. Like if you have an explorer type of player, typically you might want to make that player the mapper if you're running a live game where you're not using Roll20 or anything. If you don't have any digital help for them to have maps on their back end, you might want the explorer to be the mapper to actually like map out the dungeon. Also, you might want the problem solver to run loot. They might want to be either the problem solver or maybe the optimizer to actually start taking just to write down party loot, because there are tasks that players need to be aware of, and you need to as a DM give away any responsibility you don't need to have. Oh, look at this picture. This is awesome. I love things where there's like tiny little adventurers doing stuff. So you got like a dwarf cleric here, you got a wizard, you got a warrior type, and then you have a rogue or a ranger going down. Exploration draws adventurers into all sorts of unusual environments. Look at this badass like dragon mural. Dungeon maps. Yes, indeed. Settlement maps. Terrain. Okay. Yep, use all the different maps. Just think of it as like zooming out. Give them a big zoomed out world map if you can. But you don't need that. You don't need these maps. You really don't. This is like the 80-20 principle. This is some of the 20 stuff. This is some of the 20% that will take 80% of the work. 80% of the work effort, but you'll get 20% out of it. Tracking time. Rounds, minutes, hours, days. Spell timer. Yep. Let's see if I can get this done. Let's see. Actions and exploration. Search, study, and utilize. Cool. These are new things. So like the actions have like more codified names now. So we got search, study, utilize, use a magic action, use an attack action, help action. Taking turns when you're exploring. Yes, okay. No hard and fast. Make sure no one's waiting for their turn for too long. Good. Perception. Okay. Well, I'm glad this has their own thing. Wow, they're really talking about perception. Look at this map. Oh, a Nothic. In a courtyard full of monsters, will characters even notice that the tree has eyes? We have an Otyug, we got a Nothic, and then we have some type of demon over here. I don't know what that one is. Is that another Nothic? Might be another Nothic. As the DM, you're the interface between your players and the world of the game. You tell them what surroundings perceive, so it's important to make sure you're telling them important information about their surroundings. The perception skill and wisdom checks made using it are key tools for you. This section offers guidance to help you use the perception rules in the player's handbook. When to call for a check. When another character is using stealth to hide. Using the investigation skill. The investigation skill applies to situations where characters using reason and deduction to arrive at a conclusion about something under examination. Investigation applies when characters are trying to figure out how a thing works, how to open a trick door, how to get into a secret compartment, and so on. Don't use the investigation skill to determine if a character noticed something. That's purview of perception. I ignore this. I think perception and investigation are close enough. We can split hairs as to what they are different about each other. You obviously, if you DM a game, you're welcome to do whatever the hell you want, but I think they're so close that I'm okay with keeping them as the same skill effectively. Yeah. It just gets too muddy as to what is a perception and what is a investigation. And it kind of devolves into like intellectual arguments, and I don't care about that. I just want to play the game. I just want my players to play the game. Hidden things and adventurers. Yeah. They're basically the same skill fueled by different stats. Yep. Even hidden objects aren't essential to the adventure's success. Plant hints that clue players in the idea that there might be something hidden for them to find. Yes, indeed. Perception. Oh, they give you audible distance, visibility outdoors. That can hurt. I mean, we can get. This is like them getting really noodly with perception. Like, this will hurt you. You'll get advantage or disadvantage depending on distance and visibility. Travel. Okay, so they're doing travel. Whoa, travel planner. Cool. Weather, nice. Travel pace. Are they gonna do travel pace? Yes. Okay. Here's your chart for travel pace. Speed divided by 10? Oh, this is weird. Miles per day, normal pace typically 8. Whoa. This seems like I don't like this chart now. Just give me the mileage. Why are you making me do all this extra work? Just give me the mileage. That's obnoxious. Okay, whatever. Traveling through fantastical landscapes will be a fun, interesting part of any adventure. Look at this. What a cool picture. Again, tiny adventurers going through it. I love it. Journey stage challenges. We got ambush, attack from above, distant sighting, found by chance, pursuit. Very cool. Foraging, if you want to get real nitty gritty on like dehydration and malnutrition. Do players need to track rations? Some games, yes. Other games, no. Most games, no. You just don't. It's not very interesting. It's not the most interesting thing in most games. If you're doing like something post-apocalyptic, it might be very useful. Obstacles. Cool. Exhaustions. Exhaustion's now brutal. Oof. And they're giving you the legacy definition? Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. Tracking, resting, shifting weather or terrain. Cool. This is all very... Okay. Yes, exactly. Yes. In Sirocco, water is important. But not rations, just water. You can find food. Water's tough. Running combat, we all know this. Okay. Oh god, there's so much more. Tracking monsters' hit points. We know all this. 3 ogres block a narrow mountain pass. Look at them. Look at them. You can do it this way? Yep. Okay, cool, cool. Areas of effect. They give you hex. They give you hex and squares. Okay, cool. Very cool. They give you cover on squares and hexes. Cool. It's just, you just draw lines, pretty much. Oh my god, look at this. Look at this. A dragon's arrival makes a simple fight against zombies much more interesting. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, that is awesome. That might be my favorite one so far. Look at this one. Where am I going? Where am I going? Let me go to... I'm going to finish this before the hour. Let's see. Keep combat moving. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, this is good. I actually do want to talk about this. Don't repeat game states. When characters do something to change the tactical situation, don't respond by putting things back to the way they were before. For example, if a character takes a disengage action to move away from a group of monsters, don't respond by having the same monsters chase the character. Move the monster somewhere else. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, sometimes those monsters would go after, but I like this. This is like, this has to do with, like, thematically, they're trying to run away, so maybe those monsters do something else. Hasten a monster's demise. If a combat has gone on long enough, the character's victory is almost certain, you can simply have the monster drop dead. Yep. The monsters don't ever, the players don't even need to know that it still had 15 hit points left after the character's last attack. Or you could just speed it along and say, like, you guys got this, you kill it, right? End hostilities. Most monsters can see when a fight's not going their way, or not going anywhere at all. A sapient monster might parlay with the characters in an effort to get out of the situation alive. A non-sapient monster might play dead to try to get out of the character to stop attacking, only to get up and run away as soon as it has the opportunity. Add a combatant. Yep. Waves. Put some monsters in that are outside, just because, you know, monsters don't care about the edges of your Roll20 map. They might come in from outside the edge. Change the terrain. Perhaps a powerful attack or explosive spell topples a column, shatters a wall, or breaks up the floor. Maybe a fissure opens up the floor, releasing noxious vapors, obscuring smoke or lava. Magic could tear open the boundaries between planes of existence, unleashing raw elements or other planar magic. Or perhaps a monster's desperation causes wild magic to warp the fabric of reality. Oh, I gotta do more of that. I have to do more of that. Change the monster. Here's some Final Fantasy stuff. Maybe the warg splits open and a gibbering mouther spills out to take its place. Blah. You might decide that a monster flies to a frenzy when it's bloody, giving advantage on all its attack rolls and giving the character advantage on their attack rolls against it. Ooh! Speeding the fight. Yep. This is really useful. This is a really useful chapter. Oh, part of the running combat is this is really, really useful. Character advancement, milestones, the one I use, but milestones just works better for awarding experience points, or for awarding, for giving rewards for non-combat things. Otherwise, you have to assign experience points for everything non-combat related, and that can get tedious. Other milestone rewards. The adventurers gain the benefit of a short rest. Very cool. Recover a hit point or a level 1 spell slot. Characters regain the use of magic items that have their limited uses expended. Okay. And this is it. Awesome. We have reached the end, folks. Just on pre-roll-off. Sweet. That does it for running the game. Next chapter, which had those beautiful tables on. Next time we do Tricks of the Trade, we will be talking about the DM's Toolbox. Oh, awesome. With a blob of annihilation attacks Sharn, the city of towers in the world of Eberron. Oh my god, look at that thing. Rad. All right, we'll talk about all these different toolbox of which I will be making use of. Yes, indeed. Oh my God, there's a lot. There's a lot in this chapter. All right, cool. Well, that's it, folks. I will see you when we do this again. Please join us tomorrow for Azure Sky as we return to our live format. Peace out, folks.